This Fleet Equipment Unscripted interview is presented by Hendrickson, a leading manufacturer of heavy-duty suspension systems and components to the global commercial transportation industry. Visit hendrickson-intl.com to learn more.
Hi, everyone. I'm Jason Morgan, editor of Fleet Equipment, and welcome to Fleet Equipment Unscripted. Today, we're talking with David Saline, Vice President of Sales with Drive. David, great to talk to you and see you again.
Yeah, great to see you, Jason.
As our viewers might not know, I will post a link though, but you run a live conversation interview show that you asked me to be a part of a couple weeks ago. Happy to see you again. Happy to be on this side to talk about the shop, how shops can better themselves. You have a long history in heavy duty shop repair services, shop management, all that. So glad to talk through some shop issues here. In your long tenure of working in the service industry, have you seen technology change the truck repair process over the past maybe 2 or 3 years?
Well, the technology is it's growing even more. The vehicles are getting more complicated. They have more computer systems on it, but it's also the technology in running the business now. Having the numbers, your KPIs, having that in front of you and being able to manage it. But also the way we communicate with our customers changes now. We're going through text and we're going through a lot more email communications. And the most popular thing, and it's just starting to break through into the truck world, it's been gaining steam in the automotive world, is digital vehicle inspections. So now you're doing this all, your technicians are doing it from the bay of the shop. They're doing an inspection on the vehicle. They're checking things off. They're taking pictures of failed parts, and that is now being relayed through technology systems directly to the customer. Hey, look, we found your brakes are low, and you send a picture to them, and they see it right through a text message now. So that's become a very big part of how we operate businesses now.
Yeah, DVIR is definitely getting integrated there into lots of different service solutions as well from the fleet point of view. What's your recommendation for making sure that shop managers and the technicians use it correctly, are able to explain it? I find a lot of times that the technology and the solutions are great. The hardest part is just getting people to really value them and use them, right? So what do you say in that regard?
Well, it's a process because not everybody in your shop or in your operation may be advanced on the technology and everything. And what we recommend at Drive is start with one employee. Find one employee that embraces it. Get them fully trained up on them. Get them using it and finding out all the different ways that the technology can be used. And then one by one, you'll start training more employees with it, but use that one employee that was your kind of like your employee on it, and make them the go-to person for when people ask questions in their area of the business. If your technicians are, you get one technician using it, you get another one using it, and you slowly implement it. Because one of the mistakes we see a lot of shops do, here's a new system, we're going to use it. No training to it. Nobody's really a master of it, and everybody's trying to figure it out. Well, it kills production at that point in time. So it's introduce it slowly, have a lot of team meetings on it, a lot of trainings, and the different systems that are out there. It's also having them come in and train in-house on it, because they have a lot of training available, and a lot of people don't take advantage of that training.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, worst case scenario, you invest in this thing as a shop manager, then no one uses it, right? Because they aren't trained up on it. There's not that continuing education. More and more, we're hearing how important it is just for people to stay on top of it. It's almost you're changing the culture at that point, not just your process.
Correct. It's changing the culture, but it's also understanding your employees too, having team meetings about it and letting them voice their concerns about it. Because a lot of times people don't go to technology because they are scared of it, or they're unsure how to use the computer and use the system. So let them make it an open and where there's no punishment, there's no, voice out what your concerns are so we can address them, and then see if you can handle those on a case by case individual.
For sure. You mentioned communicating then with the customer, the fleet, the person whose vehicle you're fixing, right? Then how does that translate to being able to talk with them, someone external from the shop, all kind of looking at the same information now with the DVIRs, but communicating in the same way? Any tips for dealing with that on the customer service side?
Well, yeah, so on the customer service side, it starts off when the customer first comes in and you start talking to them. Ask them how they want to be communicated with now, because there's so many different ways of communication, text, email, by phone, and you'll find out that a lot of your customers prefer text. They're busy people, and it doesn't take a minute to look down and see a communication through a text on a phone. But if you're expecting them to answer an email, it can sit in a full email box half a day before they see it. If you try to get them on the phone, they could be on many conference calls and stuff like that, and trying to get a hold of them may be a problem. So, the text message, we've seen a lot of people really going to it, and a lot of customers prefer just text me. And with technology today, not only can they authorize the work through text message, but you can also take credit card payments and collections through text message now. So there's a lot of advancements in that area.
Right, for sure. And I definitely hear you, especially on the email side, especially this past year as we've all been working from home, moved to a digital workflow. I mean, the emails, I'm sure for everybody have been increased. We're sitting on video conference meetings all day too. So definitely good there. So outside of the shop management, the service management there, lots going on in the trucking industry in terms of new advanced technologies, ADAS, electrification, remote diagnostics. What are you hearing from shops on how they're trying to keep up with all that technology, and what are their biggest concerns coming down the line?
Well, it is, there's different things coming on there. There's definitely concerns with the shop owner with, like I said, ADAS, self-driving, electric, all this stuff that's coming out on the vehicles nowadays. It is a lot to keep up with on there. And then, you can have two viewpoints on it. You can say, I'm going to embrace it and start training my employees right now on whatever information I can get and train them on it. Or you can say, well, it won't hit my shop for another 4 or 5 years. And then you kind of become, like I say, a dinosaur. Then you get left behind. Everybody else has already advanced on it. So the
Right.
big key I look at there is train. We've done a lot of studies, and the average business loses $15,000 to $20,000 per untrained employee
Wow.
in their business each year. And if you really think about that, spending an hour of training on a specific thing each week as new technology comes out, and just spending an hour of training with them doesn't amount to $15,000 in a year.
Right. Right. Well, and I get that everyone's busy, everyone's trying to make ends meet, stay afloat. But to your point, it's important to take the time to do these things. I was even just working on a story today where it was talking about, with all these things coming down the line, specifically electrification, a switch just doesn't flip, right? You got to keep one foot in today and keep an eye on tomorrow and kind of plan for it and kind of ride that balance. Same within heavy duty shops as well, I'm guessing.
Yeah, you got to ride that balance. You got to keep up with what's going on today, but you also got to be looking what's coming in the future and start preparing for it, because the future is going to be here quick. And with the way technology works, it's coming quicker and quicker. They make new advancements, and these things hit the market quicker and quicker now. And when it comes to training too, that's another piece that I feel that, shop owners and people fall behind on, because they look at it and they give the material. Here, go watch this when you're at home or when you get some free time and look at it. Well, think of it this way. Your employees still have a life outside of the business.
All right.
And most of them probably aren't going to spend a lot of time doing this on their free time. So dedicated time during the day for them to train on these specific things. And you can pick the items that they train on, and you'll know which ones your shop's going to see faster. But technology ain't going to slow down. I said, it was a couple of years back, I said at HDAW, and they had a future analysis guy in there speaking, and I forget his name, and I don't want to, but he was talking
Yeah.
about it. And he says, I can predict the future with technology. And he said, at that time, I think he says the iPhone 10s were out, but he said, or whatever it was, he says, look, I can predict that there's going to be an 11, there's going to be a 12, so
Right.
it's kind of, when you start thinking about that, you as a shop owner need to predict right now that technology is going to continue to advance. We're going to have self-driving trucks in the future. We're going to have electric vehicles. We're going to have the hydrogen fuel cell trucks. They're going to advance. They're going to be there. And start training your team on just getting familiar with them, what they are, how they operate. There's a lot of articles published out there. I'm sure you guys put a lot of articles out on them.
Yeah.
Just start getting familiar with them.
Yeah. Yep. No, and one of my favorite things to say about technology is it doesn't really do anything for me. It just means that I can do more, I guess supposedly easier. I got tons of technology and no shortage of work, right? Like the work doesn't stop, the technology doesn't stop. It's all a matter of just working through it at that point.
Well, and using some of the technology that we use in shops nowadays, if you look at it, it seems like there's a lot more to it now, but it actually does make employees more efficient. That's the whole
Right.
purpose of the technology, is making them more efficient. You know, go back 20 years ago on a mechanical engine. If you were working on a mechanical engine, you had to pull out the manual and you had to go step by step through the diagnostic tree. Now you hook up to an electronic engine, it tells you the code, and a lot of times it's already pointing you in what the problem is, where to go to fix it.
Right, right, for sure. And like all things in our industry, I'm sure you are keenly aware of, it is still very much a handshake industry. People still like working with people in our industry and working with your partners, right? There's a reason that I use technology to connect with you and others, right? It really helps. Reach out to those that can help you.
Well, there's technology is never going to replace that partnership that you build with your customers, your vendors, or anybody else. You still have to have that relationship. You still have to build those relationships. But how do you use the technology to advance those relationships and make them better? An example is all the electronic logs and all the data that they're getting from the trucks that are on the road right now. Fleets know a lot more about their trucks than what they know 20 years ago on them. You can predict their service intervals. You can predict, different maintenance things that have to be done on it. Now, take that information you're getting and how do you actually turn it into building that relationship? How do you
Right.
save that fleet time and money and downtime? Because that's one of the things they're looking at. And how can you help them advance their company at the same time while getting their work? That's, I think, is a big key to it.
Right. Nope. Partnerships will definitely be key. I appreciate the conversation partnership here. Really think there's a lot of great info that fleets can dig into, and I appreciate you taking the time to talk.
Okay, thank you.